bribery, corruption, greed, intimidation, and even murder. This is not Chicago of the 1920s, but right here, 2006, on the Eastern Cape's wild coast, where, if what we're being told is correct, local people are being bullied into supporting a bid to extract heavy-duty minerals from their land by a power group with vested interests in the mining company. Now, this power group is part of a trust called the Corda, and their mandate is ostensibly to represent the interests of the 5 communities, all of whom are going to be affected by the mining. But are they representing their interests, or are they being lured by share options, 4x4s, and even in one case, we're told, a new house? The bribery is even extending further, according to Elias Ogle of Mzamba, to community leaders.
When the mining company was trying to win the people over, they hired taxi to take the headmen, to take all the strong leaders to Port Shepstone and buy them clothing. From the top right down to the toe. Even my uncle got clothes because my uncle is the headman. My uncle there, Mr. Mbele, he don't want the mining. The people across Mzamba at Tsikidi, they don't want mining. Dlamini people that side there, they don't want the mining. They always say to us, they don't want the mining.
But why don't we hear that? Why do we only hear what Accorda says?
The Accorda represent the people. If they say now it's the people wanting the mine, hey, I'm really sorry about that, really, because...
Are you saying they're lying?
The way they're representing the community is not the right way. If the people say they don't want the mining, and they say the people want the mining, it's a different story.
The Sakidi community insists they're being intimidated into accepting mining.
Would you be scared to stand up and say, I don't like this mining?
Yeah, people are very scared. Like around Xolobeni, most of the people, they've kept quiet now because they see how things happen.
Most yabo abayifundi nokuyiva mining. Enye into ke ebangela ba abantu babe ngathi imining babe ngathi bayayifuna because specific sokuthiwa imining iyavunywa. Into ebangela lonto into ba ithethwa ngaba abantu abakwi accord, especially ndikathi xa kwenzeka kufika ijournalist i-community ayibizwa izo interview i-journalist izithetha nabantu be-accorda kuphela.
The people in this community want ecotourism.
You can't run tourism and mining together, so that is our fear. And we are still thinking how we're gonna do these things together, because nobody could come here if we can allow the mining to come here.
The irony is that Accorda, under the chairmanship of Zamila Amadiba Kunya, was created to promote tourism in the area and filter profits through to the community. And this they were doing with very real benefits to the locals before mining, by an Australian mining consortium, TEM, became an issue. Now it seems anything to do with tourism is being undermined in an area that must rank as one of the most stunning pieces of unspoiled real estate in the world.
Like they seem to block anything. They want anything to go via them so that they see it's not dangerous or it's not opposing the mining.
They have even stopped archaeologists working under SARA from doing excavations on the Sangoan artifact site, the discovery of which is putting mining on hold. Long isolated in the apartheid years, and once ironically referred to as no man's land, it is now a place that has taken on international significance for its wealth of mineral-rich dunes on the one hand, and its world-class ecotourism qualities on the other. An untapped paradise with unique flora and fauna. A global center of plant endemism, stunning estuaries, dramatic coastline, abundance of bird life, rich traditional culture, and myriad of breathtaking waterfalls. First to suffer from Accorda's agenda of undermining tourism in favor of mining were the Amadiba adventures and horse trails. Mtentu camps and Benham Pretorius's Ufudu fly fishing operations, all of which passed their profits onto Accorda for distribution to the communities, who, we're told, never received anything, giving the impression that tourism doesn't pay and that mining is the only economic option. Disgusted that more than 300,000 rand that they passed on to Accorda wasn't channeled through to the community, the Pretoriuses have pulled out of the Wild Coast and taken their fly fishing expertise to the Seychelles.
It really wasn't easy for us to work inside an unhappy community, and the community had been unhappy for 2 or 3 years and had warned us that the proceeds from the project were not going through to them. It was very obvious that as the money increased from our project, it certainly wasn't going directly to the community.
What sort of credibility can you give to the allegation, or the perception at least, that Accorda is trying to bring down ecotourism in order to make mining an inevitability?
It certainly looks like that's what's happened. I am absolutely sure that one of the members of the community, in fact, it was said a couple of years ago that we should try and get involved and try and help, because the trust was going to make ecotourism fail, to make way for mining as a suitable alternative to uplift the community.
Jabulani Boyisa, who has a settlement near the Mtentu camps, is heartsore that Ben Pretorius has pulled out.
We were very happy for Ben Pretorius to come to fly fishing at Mtentu, because some of the locals, they benefiting there, and we doing our craft, and then we keep there by Ben Pretorius, and then Ben at the tourists, they buying our craft. So it's how we love Ben Pretorius.
All that is left of tourism in the area is the Mtentu tented camp, which was upgraded with funds from the European Union, who also built the now run-down Mtentu hutted camp. Both are limping along under the management of Accorda, and once again, if there are any profits, they are not filtering through to the community, for which they were created in the first place. These facilities are ideally located to service the now defunct fishing operation, adventure and horse trails.
It happens also to be one of the most breathtakingly beautiful places along the entire South African coastline. So, if you talk to people in the area, you'll find that there's a great deal of anger and there's a great deal of disappointment that a place of such awesome potential, ecotourism potential, is being allowed to just collapse.
Environmental educator Sinigugu Zikulu sees lost opportunities for his people.
As you have seen how beautiful this place is, with all the cliffs, the wonderful subtropical forest, the bird life here, the waterfall, that gives us the most wonderful opportunity for the community in here to develop tourism enterprise. And a birding trail, for instance, for a start, would be a wonderful low-impact tourism. And someone out there, be it the government, the funding organizations, need to help these people set up something to make use of this for job creation and all that. Unfortunately, that is not happening now.
The tragedy is even greater when taking into account that according to an in-depth report carried out by the EU and given to the Department of Environmental Affairs and Tourism, ecotourism beats mining hands down in terms of sustainable economic delivery to the community. The EU has already spent 80 million rand over a 4-year period along the entire Wild Coast in tourism and environmental training, project management, upgrading Mzamba crafts, upgrading and building camps, and equipment for horse trails. But they've had to pull out of their 22-kilometre mining stretch because of threats to the life of their liaison officer, Dave Arkwright. Although the 80 million rand was all accounted for according to Dave, a big question mark still remains over the money from the camps and horse trails and fly fishing that went into Accorda.
According to the accountant's report on Accorda, which was part of an investigation into Accorda funds and their accountability, there was gross mismanagement of money, with all withdrawals being made out to cash. And it goes further, and I'm going to quote from the report. Items from which there is no clarification have been detailed to a specific expense account, and the trustees charged with providing an explanation. The trustees didn't cooperate in providing any explanations. I'll continue reading here. Communications with the trustees and directors was also made difficult by the unavailability of cellular contact numbers and failure to return calls. Various appointments that had been scheduled were not met, and some requests for additional information went unheeded. And here's the crunch. It must be noted that, in my opinion, and the accountant talking, very little information received from the trust can be deemed accurate. There is no physical documentation that can be matched to the payments, and the majority of the information I received was verbal. The explanations I did receive were not entirely truthful. And finally, it has become apparent that the community is dissatisfied with the way in which the trust has operated in the past. You've got to question whether this committee actually has the community's interests at heart.
There's only one person who can give us the answer, and that's Bashir Kunya, the treasurer. So we move into his territory in the Xolobeni area to seek him out. But as it turns out, his network has alerted him to our presence, and he appears at a school where we have been invited to hear the teachers' concerns.
Why me? Why you are here?
You don't understand television?
Now, me?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of journalists here.
Okay, well, you tell me, where did you...
So I don't need any journalists here
All right.
talking about on behalf of development. Why you are here? You have got something you think that you can do here, and your child can work here in near future. If you're dying, because you can die anytime.
What happens if I told you that a number of black people in this area asked us to come here?
Where? Which one? They know you.
No, I'm not going to tell you because you
No,
wouldn't
you're
tell
lying.
me.
You're lying.
Who paid for
But
your
on
truck?
this side, you are coming to propose.
Who paid for your truck?
For that traffic truck.
Where'd you get the truck from?
From Potedot, for that one.
Yeah, who gave it to you?
I don't know.
You don't know who bought your truck?
No.
You mean you didn't buy it?
Why are you asking?
I'm asking. You said I've got a nice car. I'm asking you where you got your truck from.
Where?
And the Accorda Trust funds?
Where did the money go?
I'm asking you. You have got friends. I told you.
You're saying that the people who ran the Amadiba trails took that money and didn't give it to the
crop. Your friends took that money.
Well, all right, if they're not my friends, I don't
It's
know.
your friends.
Okay, they're my friends. They took the money. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Are you accusing Pondo Crop of taking this money?
Maybe I put that word in polite. They corrupt that money.
But you don't have any evidence that he took this money, do you?
You know all the information. Don't pretend as. The United Nations, the EU program, even this coast from Zambia to Kaima, you know what's happening now about the investors that you want to put in here, like Safari and the other one that are engaging with the another trust on that side. You know, I've forgotten the name. So I don't need any confusion. But now
Who Mr. Kunya is referring to here is one of the biggest safari ecotourism operations in Africa, the International Wilderness Safaris and Mantis Collection Group, who said that they were going to generate almost 500 million rand over the next 10 years in this operation. They were going to operate the Mkombati Reserve and across the river, the chalets at Mtentu. But no, they don't need them. The local government has made it quite clear they don't need them, spurred on by the Kunya brothers.
Reaching the next school to hear people from the Kobusa area is a tedious exercise as the road is horrendous and progress slow. Community members assembled here all complain about the poor roads and the state of the clinics, which are inaccessible. The principal has some harsh words about broken promises from Accorda.
If there is a resource, to avoid conflicts, the resource must be shared by almost everybody. If then resources are not shared, there will be always a conflict throughout.
A picture is beginning to emerge of communities in this area denied basic facilities to carry on with their lives. Roads, medical services and electricity. There's a perception that these basic services will all be provided by the mining rather than by local government. We're on our way to the next school in the Bellini area, but because of the roads, we're running late.
Snu, I'm just going to stop and see what happened. I heard a noise or something, and I think this thing...
Take this side.
I think something happened here.
There's nothing here. Ah, we've lost a number plate.
Really?
The biggest problem here is service delivery. People are in such a desperate situation that they would fall on for anything that comes their way.
Do you think sometimes, in the context of this whole mining debate, that it's intentional?
We heard from the meeting why people were saying that whenever this road is getting graded or being improved, they do only the upper section.
Yeah.
They don't do this last portion of the road towards the sea. So what do you say? One can easily say, can somebody like this saying is a ploy in order to make sure that whatever that is brought to this community, people would fall for it.
To our surprise, when we arrive at the school, we find an assembly of people representative of almost every facet of the community. People desperate to be given a voice.
Ingxaki esinazo apha eklinikhi izigulana ziyafa ngenxa yokuba indlela eziza apha eklinikhi zimbi umgaqo awukho right.
Lack of service delivery becomes a mantra. We hear it again and again. Schools, roads, clinics. Because of the roads, medicines can't be delivered. Those delivering child grants turn back and children struggle to get to school. The term no man's land keeps coming back to me. These are people who are more isolated than ever and no one seems to care.
We really don't know if our vote works or we're just voting for the people to rule, or that's all. Because we don't see the delivery at all here. It's crisis.
The term corruption comes up again and again.
Most people here in this area, they practice what is so-called corruption. Corruption is much higher here.
Akukho kwanto iyake yenziwa kulo mhlaba lo wasebaleni kwaMadiba. Siyavuya xa uthetha ngomgwaqo ozayo ongithuwe kuba uya kusinceda. Kwabantu balapha ebaleni bengazange benzelwe nto ngurhulumeni.
Then the bombshell drops. Two people come forward to tell us that members of the community who oppose mining are being killed.
Those people who were against the mining, they will end up losing their lives, and that's why the people, they can't have enough time to say no. They don't need mining because they are threatened with their lives.
Some people who were opposed to mining were killed.
Yes, of course, a lot of them, they've died. What we found that this mining is being forced, it's not a community agreement. So when we go down to the old men down there, they can cry. And they always sleeping with tears in their pillows. They had a pain in their hearts because they're crying that their land and their animals, they won't have any place to eat, because it's worsened. And they start to realize that because they are not educated, the people that will work there in that mining are the people who are coming from other side of town. And they won't have any chance, they won't have any chance to chase them away when it is happening.
If you tell me that you think that members of a quarter trust are, in a word, corrupt, and things are going on, and they're not representing the community, what can the community do about it?
It's really hard for the community to act because most of the people are not educated, and sometimes they are really scared with their lives because once they act, their lives is not safe.
We spoke to Mr. John Barnes, a spokesman for the mining industry, about these allegations of crime and corruption, intimidation and murder, all being done on behalf of the mining industry here. And he said he was not prepared to speak to us or any members of the press. We're all liars.
Our next mission is to confront Accorda with the allegations. So we set out the next day to a meeting at the Great Hall.
My name is Richard Compton.
But our efforts to get Zamila Madiba Kunya to answer to the allegations prove fruitless.
We've just been ejected from a committee meeting where we were trying to interview Madiba, who's the chairman of the Accorda Trust, the so-called leader of the coastal people down here. And first of all, we were told, no cameras. Secondly, Madiba referred to a senior man there who said that he wanted to know who'd given us permission to actually come into this area and speak to local people. Who gave us permission to go to the schools? What do we want here? Anyway, we explained that, and then we were told that we must go, we can do what we like, they will do what they like, and they will communicate with whoever later. That's the situation at the moment.
Many believe that it's not the likes of Zamila Madiba Kunya nor his brother Bashim who are the true culprits in situations like these, but the mining companies themselves who use aggressive and divisive tactics to get community support for their operations. Sociologist and Sustain the Wild Coast member John Clark has some strong words on the matter.
They seek to kind of undermine and cut the legs under the feet of communities when they are struggling to simply pursue a livelihood that is sustainable, that's coherent with their own cultural context, that is beneficial to everybody, and essentially to giving their children some future. And so there's a sense in which, in the new South Africa after 15 years, that the freedom that we struggled for is actually being put seriously at risk by what I perceive to be people with large vested interests who simply do not care.
What's becoming very apparent here is that a particularly dangerous situation is developing on this section of the Wild Coast between the Wild Coast Casino and Mtentu. It's a classic position of divide and rule. On the one hand, you've got many impoverished communities, people who have not even been provided with the most basic of amenities from the provincial or central government. On the other, and stepping into this vacuum that's been created, are businessmen who are saying that they're representing the people. And they're starting to punt the fact that the mining operation, the sand mining operation, is going to fulfill and provide the very services which government must do. This misinformation is causing considerable turmoil in this community. What's been so rewarding about this program is that perhaps for the first time, people are starting to speak out. Not only are they questioning whether mining should actually happen, they want to keep their land, they want to keep the integrity of their land. They don't want satellite development and ad hoc housing, low-cost housing all over the place. But they're now starting to question the very people who they say represent them. Are they really going to bring jobs? Are they really going to provide roads, clinics and hospitals? The story continues.
To keep up to date on developments in this story and what can be done to sustain ecotourism on the Wild Coast, a voluntary organization, Sustaining the Wild Coast, has been formed. For further details, go to the following website, www.safcei.org.za, which is the website of the Southern African Faith Communities Environment Institute, who are hosting and supporting the SWC campaign. We've also just learned that the world's largest known economic resource of titanium dioxide, rutile zircon, lies just north of us in Mozambique and is about to be exploited by another Australian mining company, WMC, yet another unspoilt area that will be ruined for short-term gains in order to line international pockets.